Hello, welcome everybody. This is Ben Kaplan. You're here for I Run Talks at the Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon, the virtual edition. We have an exciting, super awesome speaker with us today. Greg Wells, he's been a friend for a long, long time. He's the senior scientist at Sick Kids. He's also an author and he's a very motivational guy. His new book is called Rest, Refocus, and Recharge. And all of the things that he knows are things that are going to help you perform. Greg, give us your spiel in 25 seconds. What makes you such a star?
Exercise physiologist, did my PhD at U of T, started doing research at Sick Kids in exercise medicine. That has been going on ever since. Also consulted with the Canadian Olympic team. So I was at the Sport Institute for almost 20 years working with Olympic athletes, commentated 2010 and 2012, and just love hanging out and running and paddling and cycling and swimming and everything else I can do. And chasing my kids. Actually, it's fun this one lately.
So talk to us a little bit about getting into the mode. People are going to be watching this. They're going to be participating in a virtual event. And okay, this isn't the Olympics, but for us, it's important. You know, we bought the bib, we're taking the ride. What do we do to sort of find that gear that to get out the best of ourselves?
Discovered in all of the times that like I went to the Olympics and coached Olympic athletes was that the thing that determined whether or not an athlete went to the Olympics and actually got better or went to an Olympics and got worse or stayed the same was their stress level. And if they kept their stress levels down, if they were relaxed, if they avoided the distractions, they tended to do really well. And if they got stressed, if they got distracted, if they were worried about things, then, and this was the coaches too, actually, then things would go sideways. So the number one thing I'd say is like leading into the event 10 days out, we're just looking to minimize stress. We're looking to get some sleep. We're looking to delay the things you're worried about at work. We're just getting along with our partners at home, you know, like just chill out. And if you chill out and you're happy, you're going to have a good time. If you have a good time, you're going to have a good event and it'll, you know, like the chips will fall where they will. But really the main thing is minimize your stress leading into the event. And that's not easy right now with the news headlines and everything else that's going on at the moment. So just sort of protect your attention, do the things you love, think about the things you love, spend time with the people that you love, and you'll crush it.
I really love that, man. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's sort of like it's a lesson in perseverance. We've always been of a similar mind. I mean, this is sort of, you could do this for this event and you could also do this for your whole life. I mean, these are like the lessons in perseverance.
In shape, and we love running because it makes us healthier. But at the end of the day, what the real benefit of sports is that it teaches you life skills. We know that for our kids, the reason why they do soccer is because they learn to work as a team. And you discover who you really are when you're under pressure. Like when you're out there and it's nice. 35 minutes the marathon, you're going to figure out who you really are. Like that chatter is real. And so that's when you discover yourself. And that's when you can start working on yourself because you find your limitations. It's like taking a race car out on the racetrack. You're not going to find out what's wrong with the race car when it's sitting in the garage. You're going to find out what's wrong with the race car at 200 kilometers an hour going around a corner. And it's exactly the same for us. So we want to be thinking like these are tests for ourselves. We push ourselves to limits and that's okay. And we discover our cracks and you discover where your mind goes off and you discover where your body maybe isn't quite where you want it to be. And that's okay because then you just go back to the drawing board and keep working on it.
Man, this is so great. I love talking to you. Was this what you like about sports?
Love so much about sports. It's probably what I love, why I love doing sports now at this stage of my life. You know, when I was younger and I was a teenager, I was definitely, you know, trying to make the Olympics in swimming. And, you know, when we were doing cycling expeditions and stuff like that, it was like to accomplish a goal. When you're climbing, it's like to get to the top of the mountain. But I love the process now a lot more than I used to. It used to be about the outcome, and now it's a lot more about the process. And I feel like that's something that I'm noticing in a lot of world-class performers, regardless of discipline, music, drama, sports, business, whatever. Like I actually spent some time with Steve Wozniak from Apple a few years ago, and I was chatting to him. Like he just loves programming and like just playing with gadgets. So he's going to be building computers for the rest of his life because this is what he likes doing. And he happened to make one with Steve Jobs that yielded Apple. But like the people who are truly great at what they do just love it for the process. And so I'm really trying to work on that as my mindset lately. It's a work in progress, but that's just what I've been thinking of during this crazy lockdown time.
I mean, you can totally understand it. I mean, I could think of all of the clips, and one that comes back at the Scotiabank Waterfront Marathon last year, the Canadian men's winner was this guy Trevor Hoffbauer, and there's like this photo of him, and like, first of all, he didn't wear a watch. I mean, how about that? You know, you're going for the Olympics and you don't wear a watch, but it's sort of like, I'm just gonna feel, I mean, and then at the end, there's just this great photo of him. I don't know if he gave somebody five or he did a big pose, but like, I mean, the guy, I mean, he's a kid, but there's a lot we can take. I mean, help me understand that mentality and how we can do, what did he do right by running like that?
Performing, when you're cycling, when you're swimming, like whatever it happens to be in that performance moment, you are on the edge between energy and tension. So you want the maximum amount of energy, but no tension. And so that means if you've got to joke around a little bit, that's fine. But like you're just on that. So if you get tense, all your energy disappears. So that's like, you want to try, the second that you're trying hard, it's a problem. So running fast is different from running hard. You want to run fast, and that's speed with relaxation. That's energy with no tension. And that's what you can do in practice. And that's life, right? Like, it's the same with a relationship. You want energy, but no tension. You know what I mean? Like it's a universal human truth. And so when you're running out there, that's like the breathing. That's like, oh, I'm noticing my shoulders are tight. Okay, that's relaxed. I'm noticing I'm leaning forwards. Okay, reset the spine. Hips are getting tight. Okay, cool, extend. Like all those sorts of things you can do during the race to keep yourself in that energy, not tension zone. More energy, less tension.
And I guess some other things you can do there too. I mean, this is tricky because when you're running this race in Toronto, and there's, I'm going to say millions of people. It's not millions of people, but there's a boatload of people, and you see people are clapping, and there's signs, and it's fun, and you're high-fiving and whatever, and you're working hard, but also there's an element of a parade to it or a Mardi Gras. Like that's always what I always find. So how do we do this now? We're getting out there. It's a virtual event. We're by ourselves. Like, talk about that.
You're out there, and when you start to get tired, you can lean on the energy of the crowd, the positivity of the competitors around you, people encouraging each other, the thought of crossing the finish line and having your family there. And I mean, that's all gone. So what we're getting to now in COVID times is literally just like this beautiful, I think it's actually really cool. It's like you're doing it for the absolute purity of just doing it for no other reason than you're doing it. There's no finish line. No one cares. You can stop and go home. No one's going to care. No one's going to know. And I think that sort of renders it as something that's even better. So when we do something because we love it, we're usually really great at it. When you're doing something because there's like a medal, or there's the finish line, or there's like everyone telling you how great you are on social media, like that's pretty hollow. It ends really quickly. And it usually results in you training for this marathon, getting into the best shape of your life. And then 3 weeks later, you're not training anymore, just nothing else to lean into. So I really think it's actually kind of cool. And I love, you mentioned earlier about people running without their watches. Like I think once a week you should run without your watch. No technology, no music, no watches, no tech, like whatever, just go out and run and feel, right? And when you're out there and you feel what you're doing, you can learn so much about yourself. There's no distractions to pull you out of the pain, right? It's just this magical state that you can enter into. So I think that if you can think of it as just like the absolute purity of the sport, you're just going out for a run with yourself for 4 hours. Like, let's just go and hang out and see what comes into your mind and just see where you can go with it. I think that's a really neat thing for it. No one gets to do that, right? Think about how unique an opportunity this is going to be. You'll probably never do this again in your life, have a race like that. So it's kind of neat. I think it's an opportunity to do things a little differently and just have that mindset where it's growth, it's discovery, it's fun. You're alone. Gosh, being alone is kind of nice too. You know, I think of just how busy our lives are. You got as long as you want out there by yourself. Just go for a run and have fun.
It's interesting. I was hearing you talk about that. I was thinking about my kid. My littlest is 6, and like when he learned to ride his bike, it's that notion of pushing, and it's like, don't look down. And if you could forget about yourself for a minute, like you're doing it, just go. Don't, I think the swimming is kind of the same thing, where suddenly the dog paddle and you kind of get into it. It's also that thing in Forrest Gump. I don't know if you remember Forrest Gump well, but when he's got the braces, and then when he sort of goes when the guys are chasing him and he picks up, I mean, that ability, it's almost like learning to fly.
As you're speaking, is I was a swimmer growing up, and I swam with this guy named Marcel Giri. He's a defector from Czechoslovakia, and we were training before the Barcelona Olympics. He ended up winning a bronze medal in the relay and 100 fly, and he said, you just have to get out of the way of the water. And I was like, what?
Nice.
He said, it's just like, get out of the way of the water. Like, you're going through the water, but just get out of the way. That means like you're rolling your shoulders, butterfly, you're getting out of the way. And when you do that, you just get out of the way. You're like, oh my God, it's just like flowing by me. And so with running, it's sort of a weird experience. You can have that too. It's
Get
sort of
like the air.
like you're flying.
Yeah.
So it's just the same thing. You just like get out of your own way. Stop thinking. Like, just flow. Get into that flow state, which means just literally like stop the active thinking and drop into the experience. And I think that's a kind of a neat place to end up.
So I think that all of us would agree, like, that's sounds good, sign me up. But unfortunately, you can't just like, press a button on your arm and like get into that mode. So what are some sort of it's almost like active relaxation techniques?
The vast majority of the world feels a certain way, therefore they have certain thoughts, therefore they end up in a certain physical state. So you can think someone reads a news headline, therefore they feel scared, therefore they have certain thoughts and their shoulders go up and they end up being tense. World-class athletes, world-class performers do the opposite. They act, think, feel. So no matter what's happening, they're setting their body position a certain way because they know that's how they need to be in order to perform at their best. When you set your body position a certain way, it changes your neurochemistry so that you can actually have certain thoughts, which alters the hormones in your body, which then changes your emotions. So
Wow.
if you feel, think, act, it's going to go off the rails. If you act, think, feel, you can control your mind, body, and emotions, which then enables you to drop back into the zone. So think about the times in your life when you are in the zone. It's not random. It's not an accident. It's because of the way that your mind, body, and emotions were in that moment. If you can remember that, if you can write it down, how was I feeling? What was I thinking? And all those sorts of things, you can recreate it. You know exactly what to do. And so that's what we used to do with the Olympic team, is we'd play that sort of act, think, feel game. And Alex Bilodeau is probably the best example of that. He's a diver. And right before the 2012 Olympics in London, he was training in Spain a month before the games. And he did a backflip and he hit his head and he split his skull wide open. I think it was 32 stitches, concussion. And when he got to London, he had to execute the exact same dive again. But when he was on the diving board, I was in this pool that day watching, so I was fortunate enough to be there. He was like tall, open, right? Like he was just like, his shoulders were back. I mean, there was a moment where he was just like, you would never know that it was the same diver, that he just nearly killed himself a month before doing the exact same thing. He's using his body to set his mind, to be in an emotional state so he could actually execute on what he was trying to do. It was super cool. And that's exactly what we can all do too. Like if you notice, just look around, you can see people that are tense and you can see people that are relaxed and happy. And the game for all of us is to try to just spend more time being relaxed and happy, I think. And then you can do that in your sport too and you win. So just remember, act, think, feel, don't feel, think, act.
Wow, man, this stuff is so great. I'm such a firm believer in it. I mean, and also taking it a step back, what's the point of doing this? I mean, you've got stresses at work and are the kids going to stay in school? And like, I mean, it's always this stuff, but right now it's almost this stuff writ large. We can't even have the marathon event. So it's like, give yourself an opportunity to enjoy something, you know?
I've got one kid out of school right now because her classmate's sister has COVID. I've lost 2 friends to COVID. My business is completely different. My wife's a chiropractor. I mean, she's not touching anyone at work these days. Like that's not happening. So it's really, really tough. It's super stressful. I'm fortunate. We still have, we're getting by and it's fine, but it's stressful. So how do we take control of our lives and reimagine the future so that the future is better than the past, even with everything that's going on right now? That's the game. And we also have to consider what's in our control, what's not in our control. This COVID thing is not in our control, except we need to maintain physical distancing, and we'll get through this.
Right.
So what are we going to do? So then we control our sleep, we control our nutrition, we exercise like crazy, and we maintain connections with the people that we love. And so that's like, just get out there and run, get into shape. You said yourself, like the beginning of COVID-19 was not, you were not doing things that were healthy. And then immediately you started running and you're back into it. Now you're running like crazy. And so it's just that shift from difficult situations into positivity. And that's life. Like life's always going to throw curveballs. If it's not COVID, it'll be something else. And so, yeah, we just want to find the things that we love, do more of that, find the people that we love, spend more time with those people, just have those beautiful experiences in life. And we can craft that, we can create that. And whether it's a virtual marathon or it's a Zoom call with your buddies or a WhatsApp text message group with people just to share funny jokes and all those sorts of things. Like, I mean, that's just, you know, everything that we're trying to do. That's the game, is just crafting a gorgeous life, and running is part of that.
I mean, I guess just the last thing is, because you never know what the world is going to throw at you. We're going to go out there and we're going to do these events. The weather could be, I mean, I've run Scotiabank in the snow. I've run it when it's freezing. I've run it when it's hot. One time it was super windy. Like, so, you know, it's one thing, you're sitting on the beach right now looking like, you know, looking good. You know, you're in Maui, it looks like, over there. But, you know, because it's when it counts. So I guess what makes a real athlete, so, you know, your diver, you know, when it counted, he could do that. He built up that muscle. He could draw on that. For us, weekend warriors, sort of schmoes, you know, doing the best we can, you know, it's we're about to go do our thing, and we look at the door and it's raining outside. You know, how do we sort of find, we're within, we all have it. We all have the ability to either shirk or lean in, you know? How do you choose the latter?
So that's step one. Just like get the good gear, like invest
Yeah,
in the good gear. Everything's always, you know, accessible to you. But
know
then
what you're doing.
I remember so often, you know, coaching swimming, and everyone, when you get to nationals, wants to go fast. Like once you're at the meet, everybody wants to go fast. Everyone's committed, everyone's dedicated, everyone's doing everything right. But 6 months before that, in February, in the winter, at 5 o'clock in the morning, when you're getting up to go outside into a snowstorm to go dive into a at the meet 6 months before. And so we also need to build in the fact that we do want to do these things. Like we love to do these things. And when you love to do these things, and you're surrounded by people that also love it, and you've got that community, you have no choice. Like you're going out in the snow to go for that run. You're putting on the cleats, you're putting on the warm weather gear, you're putting on the face mask, getting the hoodie going, and you're going out, or you're jumping on the treadmill in your one. But it's not like once you get to the marathon, everyone's going to want to run fast. We really need to work on our own mental strength, our own mental fortitude, so that we just do the work, even when you don't necessarily want to do the work. And I've always also said to a lot of my athletes, it's like, I really don't feel. Like whether you feel good today or not, I do not care. We are just going to try to get the workout done the way it's designed. And if you go fast, that's great. If you don't, no worries. We still got the work done. So don't worry about how you feel. Just do the work. And it's not even, you know, it's not even work. It's just like, do what you love. Doesn't matter how you feel, do what you love. And start. And I bet you once you're 5 minutes in, you're going to be pretty happy that you started. And then just carry on as you need to from there.
And if you're miserable too, I've done plenty of workouts. I hope this is going to get canceled, and it doesn't. But I get there, and even if I hate it, it's like, okay, an hour later, guess what? I'm eating Chinese food. You know, it's.
You're suffering, and then you finish, and you're like, oh man, you know what? I'm actually feeling pretty good right now, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
Sucks. It just makes you tough, right? So we're playing with all that stuff too. Anyway, it's all part of the game, and just sort of having fun and playing with it and seeing what you're capable of.
Hey, if we want people to, I mean, I love talking to you. I always have loved to. If people want to follow more of your stuff, how do we get you?
My website's drgregwells.com, and DM me and I'll happily get back to you. Wish everyone best of luck in the marathon. I'm not quite marathon ready yet, but I did sign up for Ironman Tremblant yesterday for next summer. So hopefully things are back up for the marathon next summer at the end of a 180K bike ride and a 4K swim. So anyway, good luck. I hope everyone does really well.
Best to you, my friend.
All right, I'm sorry that it got a little bit